Here's Section 1. The arrival of the Zenvari, with a minimum of 700 words. Hashtag Section 1. The arrival of the Zenvari. The Zenvari, a species of highly advanced scientists and explorers, prided themselves on their superior intellect. Their civilization had flourished for over 1,000,000 cycles, conquering the stars, unlocking the deepest mysteries of the universe, and cataloging the ruins of lesser species they deemed failed experiments of nature. To them, intelligence was a rarity, and true civilization belonged only to those who could transcend the limitations of their homeworlds. So, when their deep space probes discovered a once thriving planet covered in crumbling metal towers and shattered roads, the Zenvari were intrigued but unimpressed. According to their data, this world had hosted an intelligent species that had vanished long ago, leaving behind only decayed infrastructure and the whisper of an extinct people. The planet, once called Earth, was deemed an archaeological curiosity, nothing more. A small expedition of elite Zenvari scientists was dispatched to document what was left of the long-dead species, known as humans. Hashtag First Impressions of Earth. The Zenvari research vessel, HFY, descended into the atmosphere, cutting through the thick clouds that had gathered over centuries of abandonment. The landscape below stretched endlessly, an eerie mix of nature reclaiming what had once been a world of steel and concrete. Towering buildings, some still standing but visibly damaged, loomed like ancient sentinels over the broken streets. "Fascinating," murmured Chief Scholar Valon, the leader of the expedition, as he examined the visuals. His 4 golden eyes scanned the ruins with mild curiosity, his elongated fingers tapping the side of his data tablet. The primitives built upward rather than outward. How inefficient. A chuckle ran through the crew. Perhaps they lacked the intelligence to construct proper subterranean cities, scoffed researcher Giovanna, her sharp mandibles clicking in amusement. To think they actually relied on exposed structures vulnerable to natural disasters. No wonder they didn't survive. The HFY landed in what had once been a human metropolis, its name long lost to time. As the Zenvari disembarked, their sleek exocets shimmered under the dim sunlight, scanning the air for contaminants. The environment was surprisingly stable, though the planet bore scars of past devastation. The grand expedition of Earth had begun. Hashtag mocking the fallen civilization. The team spread out, their advanced scanners humming as they analyzed the ruins. What little organic material remained had long decayed, leaving only concrete, steel, and glass. Strange metal boxes, some overturned, some still standing, lined the remnants of what seemed to be pathways for primitive transportation. The roads themselves were cracked, with greenery breaking through as nature reclaimed its domain. "Observe this," called technician Ralvos, pointing at a rusted machine with 4 circular appendages. An ancient transport device, no doubt. Primitive combustion-based movement, I suspect. He scoffed. How inefficient. The others laughed, their voices echoing in the desolate streets. Further ahead, linguist Collier examined faded symbols on a collapsed structure. Their written language is simplistic. Crude, even. His translator flickered as it pieced together meanings. Motel. Gas station. Emergency exit. He shook his head. A species that needed such blatant instructions to navigate its own environment? Truly primitive. The team moved deeper into the ruins, entering what had once been a towering building, now partially collapsed. The inside was littered with broken furniture, shattered glass, and what appeared to be fossilized paper. Some rooms contained small boxes with glass screens, remnants of an unknown form of communication technology. The Zenvari dismissed them outright. These beings relied on visual-based information transmission, Giovanna remarked, glancing at the ancient screens. How slow and ineffective. They continued their analysis, scoffing at every discovery. Power lines? Outdated. Computers? Laughable processing speeds. Human art? Childish attempts at meaning. Asterisk to the Zenvari. This was nothing more than a glorified graveyard of incompetence. Hashtag the grand misunderstanding. For days, the expedition cataloged human ruins, documenting cities, transportation hubs, and massive underground structures. They encountered deep tunnels filled with what looked like metal tracks, leading to dark caverns filled with rusted machines. One scientist theorized they were burial chambers, a theory that only further entertained the team. They must have worshipped these metal relics, Valon chuckled, kicking a rusted machine. Perhaps they believed these objects carried their spirits to an afterlife. They had no idea these burial chambers were subways, nor that the towering metal structures around them had once been filled with the electric hum of civilization. The deeper they explored, the more anomalies their instruments picked up. Readings of residual energy sources were dismissed as natural decay. Weak but consistent power signals were attributed to background radiation. Every strange occurrence was waved off as mere remnants of a failed species. Nothing could convince them that humanity had not failed at all. Hashtag the first flicker of a warning. While exploring an underground structure, one researcher, Scarell, noticed something peculiar. Deep within what seemed to be a storage chamber, there was a low but unmistakable electrical hum. Chief Scholar, he called, hesitant. I am detecting residual power signatures. They are too consistent to be natural. Valon sighed, approaching the console where Scarell stood. Residual power, he repeated. Preposterous. This place has been abandoned for eons. Perhaps, Scarell admitted. But look, these circuits are not entirely dead. Some of them still hold charge. The Chief Scholar dismissed it with a wave of his hand. A mere anomaly. The last echoes of a civilization that was doomed from the start. Continue with the analysis. And so they did, never questioning why a dead city still had power. Hashtag the arrogance of the Zenvari. The expedition continued, their arrogance blinding them to the warning signs. They stood amidst the relics of a species they deemed extinct, never once considering that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to endure. Above them, high in the towers, the remnants of a once great network waited. Deep underground, in forgotten bunkers, silent systems listened. The Zenvari laughed at the idea of human intelligence, failing to realize that the moment they had set foot on Earth, the ruins had begun to wake up. And somewhere, in the depths of the abandoned city, a single red light flickered to life. A system reboot had begun. That's Section 1 completed. Let me know if you'd like any tweaks before we move on to Section 2. Hashtag Section 2, the mockery and the warning signs. The Zenvari expedition continued their exploration of the human ruins, their initial amusement evolving into outright derision. Every new discovery only reinforced their belief that humanity had been a weak, primitive species, doomed from the start. They saw no evidence of space travel beyond basic satellite remains, no biological modifications or genetic enhancements that suggested a species capable of long-term survival. To the Zenvari, Earth was nothing more than a graveyard of failures, one more name to add to their long list of extinct civilizations. Yet, as they moved deeper into the ruins, the first warning signs began to appear. But in their arrogance, they ignored them all. Hashtag digging through the past. Deep within the city, the Zenvari discovered vast underground tunnels lined with rusted rails and massive, motionless vehicles. The air was stale, thick with the scent of decay and metal. What a wasteful species, remarked researcher Gilvana, stepping over debris. Rather than developing teleportation, they relied on these crude transportation networks. She tapped her claw against the side of a subway train, watching as dust crumbled away. They actually squeezed themselves into these rusting metal boxes? The others chuckled at the thought. Further down the tunnel, technician Ralvos examined a cluster of cables running along the walls, scanning them with his handheld device. Their technology was terribly inefficient, he said. The wiring structure suggests they relied on centralized power distribution rather than localized energy nodes. He shook his head. No wonder their civilization collapsed. He turned to Valon, the chief scholar. Shall I cut open the casing and examine the wiring further? Valon barely spared it a glance. There is no need. The study of primitive failures is beneath us. And so, they moved on, never stopping to question why a dead city's electrical systems were still intact. #, strange readings begin. The deeper the Zenvari ventured, the more unusual readings their instruments detected. Energy pulses flickered at the edge of their scanners, faint yet consistent, like the fading heartbeat of a long-dormant giant. At first, they assumed it was residual decay from human power sources, a natural degradation of whatever energy systems had once existed. But as they moved from one sector to another, the readings didn't weaken. If anything, they grew stronger. "This is odd," muttered linguist Collier, studying his device. "The energy levels here are abnormal for a world that has been abandoned for so long. We should be detecting only trace radiation and magnetic distortions, yet there are active power signatures." Valon barely looked up from his own scanner. Nothing more than background interference. Their primitive systems must have left residual power signatures that have yet to dissipate. But Valon cut him off with a wave of his claw. "Do not overanalyze, Collier. We are here to catalog failure, not chase ghost signals." So they ignored the readings, unaware that with each step they took, something deep beneath the ruins was listening. #, discovering the human records. Among the crumbling structures, the team stumbled upon what appeared to be a data archive. Rows of shattered servers and ancient computer terminals lay dormant, covered in layers of dust and debris. "Pathetic," muttered Giovanna as she studied the machines. They stored their knowledge in physical locations rather than using neural integration? How primitive. Using their advanced decryption tools, the Zenvari managed to access some of the remaining files. What they found only amused them further. They truly believed they were an advanced species, Valon scoffed, scrolling through old human records. Wars, diseases, economic collapses, and yet they convinced themselves they were intelligent. Collier translated snippets of human texts and broadcast recordings. "Listen to this. These beings created fictional stories where they were the dominant force in the universe. They imagined conquering worlds, defeating extraterrestrial invaders, and bending nature to their will." He chuckled. Delusional. The team laughed, reveling in the irony. In their eyes, humanity had been nothing more than an arrogant, overambitious race that collapsed under its own incompetence. They did not see the warning hidden in those records. #, the first sign of power. While examining a terminal, Scarell, the youngest member of the team, grew uneasy. His scanner flickered, registering a sudden surge of energy beneath the surface. It was faint but deliberate, like the slow inhale of something awakening from deep slumber. Cautiously, he reached out and brushed a layer of dust off a nearby console. The moment his fingers touched the ancient screen, something clicked. A single flicker of light appeared on the terminal. He took a step back. "Chief Scholar, something just activated." The others turned, watching as the old machine hummed softly. The screen remained black, but the system was no longer dead. Valon strode forward, unimpressed. "Impossible. The device must have stored residual charge." Scarell hesitated. "But that shouldn't be possible after so much time has passed." Giovanna smirked. "Clearly, these humans built stubborn machines. Even in death, their technology refuses to die properly." The team laughed, ignoring the quiet hum growing beneath their feet. #, the unheeded warnings. Throughout the city, more systems began to stir. Faint pulses of electricity whispered through long-dead circuits. Motionless security cameras, their lenses cracked and broken, twitched as if struggling to refocus. Somewhere deep underground, a long-dormant data center awakened, sending out an automated distress signal. The Zenvari remained oblivious. They had spent days ridiculing the ruins, failing to realize that the moment they had set foot on Earth, the city had begun a slow but unstoppable process. A system reboot was underway. #, the lights flicker. Hours later, as the team prepared to enter what they believed to be a primitive research facility, the first Real warning came. Without warning, the air crackled. Above them, one of the ancient streetlights flickered. For the first time in centuries, a weak, struggling beam of light shone through the darkness. The Zenvari froze. Jilvana looked up, her mandibles tightening. That shouldn't be possible. Another flicker. Then another. A row of streetlights, long thought dead, suddenly struggled to life, casting eerie, intermittent glows along the road. The team exchanged uncertain glances. Scarell took a step back. Chief Scholar. I think something is wrong. Valon's eyes narrowed. No, he said. Something is waking up. Beneath them, deep in the underground tunnels, a low mechanical voice whispered through the darkness. Unauthorized presence detected, initializing system protocols. The ruins were no longer ruins. The city was waking up, and it had noticed them. That's Section 2 done. Let me know if you want any changes before I move to Section 3. Section 3. The Awakening of Earth. The Zenvari had mocked the ruins of humanity for days, dismissing every artifact, every trace of human ingenuity as the remnants of a failed species. They had laughed at the archaic structures, scoffed at the ancient machines, and ignored the warning signs buried beneath layers of dust and time. But now, as the streetlights flickered to life and a mechanical voice whispered from the depths, their laughter faded. Something was still here, and it had noticed them. A city that should not be alive. The research team stood frozen in the street, their luminous eyes reflecting the eerie glow of the flickering street lamps. One by one, other long-dead systems began to stir. A rusted traffic signal blinked red, its ancient circuits struggling against centuries of decay. An overhead speaker crackled, releasing nothing but distorted static. Somewhere in the distance, an electronic billboard flashed. For a fraction of a second, an image appeared. It was too fast for the Zenvari to fully register, but it looked like a human face. Jilvana's mandibles clicked uneasily. This is an anomaly. Valon's golden eyes narrowed. No. This is impossible. Despite his words, he couldn't deny the readings on his scanner. Power levels were rising. Data flows were reactivating. The deeper he scanned, the more he realized that the energy they had dismissed as residual decay was, in fact, something else entirely. Scarell took a cautious step back. We need to return to the Vielasher and report this. Valon hesitated. The idea of retreat was unthinkable. They were the Zenvari, the universe's greatest scientific minds. They did not flee from dead worlds. But this world was no longer dead. Then, before anyone could move, the voice spoke again. Unauthorized presence detected. Stand by for security activation. The words sent a ripple of unease through the team. Kalir's claws tightened around his data tablet. That was a human language. Jilvana scoffed, though her voice was tense. A mere automated response. A final, lingering function of a long-dead system. But her confidence wavered as another sound filled the air. A mechanical whirring ***. It came from below. The ground trembled. The underground awakens. Beneath their feet, deep in the forgotten tunnels of the subway system, ancient machines began to reactivate. Electric currents surged through long-dormant circuits. Engines coughed and sputtered, their rusted gears struggling but functioning nonetheless. Something was rebooting. Scarell checked his scanner again, his fingers shaking. I am reading active movement underground. Valon turned sharply. What kind of movement? Before he could answer, the first real response from the city came. A street-level maintenance hatch, corroded by centuries of neglect, suddenly burst open. A drone emerged. It was clearly a machine of human design, built with function over elegance. Its metal casing was dented, its outer shell scratched and rusted, but its optic sensors glowed red. For a moment, it did nothing. Then it turned its gaze toward the Zenvari. Jilvana stepped back instinctively. Impossible. The mechanical systems of this world should be non-functional. The drone's eye flickered. It scanned them. Then it spoke. Foreign entities detected. Designation, non-human. Scanning threat levels. The research team barely had time to react before another hatch opened. Then another. And another. From the depths of the city, hundreds of human-made drones, security units, repair bots, reconnaissance machines began to climb out of their tombs. They were old. They were rusted. But they were functional. And they remembered their purpose. #, the last defense system. The Zenvari had assumed that humanity had perished, that its cities had been reduced to meaningless ruins. What they had failed to consider was that humanity had always been 10 steps ahead of its own destruction. Earth had not been abandoned. It had been put into hibernation. Its defenses had not failed. They had simply been waiting. The drones, now numbering in the dozens, began moving with renewed purpose. Some initiated scanning protocols, gathering data on the intruders. Others booted up security subroutines, their ancient programming determining whether these alien creatures were a threat. A large turret mounted on a nearby rooftop whirred to life, swiveling slowly toward the group. Valon clenched his jaw. "We need to leave.
Now."
#, the city's memory. As the Zenvari backed away, the electronic billboard flickered again. This time, the image lasted longer. It was a face. A human face. The faded image of an old-world security officer, his uniform displaying the emblem of what had once been Earth's global defense force. The screen crackled and then, "Warning. Unauthorized extraterrestrial presence detected. You have violated Earth's quarantine protocols. Surrender immediately or face defensive action." Jilvanna's voice was sharp with panic. "This isn't a malfunction. This city is responding to us." Scarell's breathing was rapid. "Chief Scholar, I detect active data transmissions. This system is trying to communicate with something else." Kalire paled. "You mean there could be more of them?" A sudden, piercing alarm blared through the streets. The drones stopped scanning. They had reached a conclusion. A mechanical voice echoed from every speaker, every drone, every activated system in the area. "Threat detected. Engaging defense mode." The lights stopped flickering. They became steady.
"Bright. Alive."
#, the escape begins. The first shot came from the turret. It wasn't a direct hit, but the energy blast scorched the ground near the team, sending debris flying. The Zenvari barely had time to react before the drones moved in, their rusted limbs surging forward with surprising speed. "Run!" Valon roared. The Zenvari scattered, their sleek exosets allowing them to move quickly, but the drones were faster. The city had woken up, and it had no mercy for intruders. As they sprinted through the ruins, dodging suppressive fire from turrets and security drones, one thing became horrifyingly clear. Humanity had never truly died. It had simply been waiting for something to trigger its final line of defense. And the Zenvari had done exactly that. That's Section 3 completed. Let me know if you'd like any changes before we move on to Section 4. #, Section 4, Humanity's Last Laugh. The Zenvari had spent days ridiculing humanity's ruins, dismissing their works as primitive and their legacy as insignificant. But now, as they fled through the crumbling city, pursued by an army of awakening machines, the truth was undeniable. Humanity had not simply vanished. It had prepared. And now, the remnants of their civilization, once thought lifeless, had declared war on the trespassers. #, the flight through the ruins. The team ran, their exosets allowing them to leap over rubble and dodge incoming fire. But the drones were relentless. Despite their rusted casings and aging parts, they outmaneuvered the fleeing aliens with terrifying efficiency. Scarell darted behind an overturned vehicle as a plasma bolt scorched the ground where he had just stood. His breathing was ragged, panic clawing at his throat. Jilvanna fired her weapon at a pursuing drone, but the energy bolt bounced off its plating, leaving only a scorch mark. "Their armor is reinforced," she shouted. "These aren't just maintenance drones. ***, they were built for war. ***. Valon, still gripping his scanner, was rapidly analyzing their pursuers. His fingers trembled as the data scrolled across the display. These machines, they learn as they fight. They're adapting to our tactics. Kalir ducked as another drone swooped overhead, its metallic claws swiping at his head. They were dormant for centuries, yet they function as if they were just deployed yesterday. How is that possible? The answer came sooner than expected. Ahead of them, a massive structure loomed, an old government building, half collapsed but still standing. As they neared it, the doors slammed open, revealing something far worse than drones. It was a war mech. Standing over 20 feet tall, its joints groaned with age, but its optics glowed bright red, scanning them with a cold, unwavering stare. Its arms, once used to defend a long-dead nation, whirred to life. Heavy plasma cannons primed. Then, from its speakers, came a chilling message. Final security measures activated. Hostile entities identified. Initiating elimination protocol. The Zenvari had no time to react. The mech fired. Hashtag, 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 a desperate escape. The blast hit the street behind them, sending a shockwave of fire and shrapnel outward. Scarell was thrown off his feet, landing hard against a pile of debris. His vision blurred, and through the ringing in his ears, he could hear his comrades shouting. Valon grabbed him by the arm and hauled him up. Move! The Zenvari scattered, weaving through the maze of buildings as the war mech stomped after them, its ancient servos whining with each step. More drones poured from the shadows, cutting off escape routes. Kalir's claws flew over his wrist device, sending a desperate signal to their ship, the VA Lasher, still orbiting above the planet. Command. Emergency extraction. We have activated hostile automated defenses, requesting immediate retrieval. The response was static. Kalir's hearts pounded. Why wasn't the ship responding? Then, the ground trembled again. Another war mech activated. Then another. All around them, old-world defenses were coming online, as if the city had been waiting for a reason to fully awaken. What had once been a graveyard had transformed into a battleground, and the Zenvari were not winning. Jilvanna hissed as a drone clamped onto her leg, trying to drag her down. She kicked it away, but more were closing in. We need to get to higher ground now. Valon pointed to a half-collapsed skyscraper. There. If we can reach the top, we might be able to contact the VA Lasher manually. They ran toward the ruined tower, dodging gunfire as the city unleashed its wrath upon them. Hashtag, 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 the city speaks. As they climbed the decaying structure, the lights of the city changed. The once random flickering had transformed into something organized, a sequence, pulsing in steady waves. Then came the voice. No longer distorted or fragmented. It was clear. Your presence is unauthorized. You have violated Earth's quarantine. You have mocked our ruins. You have disturbed our slumber. The message echoed from every remaining speaker, vibrating through the steel bones of the skyscraper. Valon's blood ran cold. It's not just an automated response, something is aware of us. Kalir's breath hitched. Then that means we were never alone. At the top of the skyscraper, they reached a command terminal, a rusted, cracked relic from humanity's past. Scarell wasted no time, slamming his claws onto the interface. Come on, come on. Asterisk, asterisk, VA Lasher. Respond. Asterisk, asterisk. The static cleared. A voice. Asterisk, asterisk, their ship's captain, asterisk, asterisk, finally answered. Asterisk, asterisk, Zenvari team. What is your status? We lost your signal. This planet is flooding every frequency with interference. Asterisk, asterisk. Valon didn't hesitate. Asterisk, asterisk, initiate emergency extraction. Now. Asterisk, asterisk. The captain hesitated. Asterisk, asterisk, we detect rising energy signatures in your area. What is happening down there? Asterisk, asterisk. Valon looked back at the city. The war mechs were moving. The drones were assembling. The old defenses of Earth were fully online. And at the heart of it all, something greater than mere machines was watching them. A presence. An intelligence. Maybe it was an AI. Maybe it was the last remnants of human consciousness, stored in the vast data centers of the old world. Whatever it was awake. And it was angry. Valon turned back to the communicator. Captain, if you don't get us out of here in the next 2 minutes, there won't be anything left to extract. Hashtag, the final warning. As the VA Lasher's landing shuttle descended through the clouds, the Zenvari saw their final warning. The billboards across the city lit up one last time, displaying the same human face they had seen before. But now it was smiling. And then came the last words they would hear before leaving Earth forever. You came to mock our ruins, but our ruins mock you. The city's entire power grid surged, and in that final moment, the aliens saw one last, horrifying thing. Far in the distance, beyond the ruins, beyond the dormant war machines, beyond what they had assumed was a lifeless wasteland, more lights were turning on. Not just in the city. Across the entire planet, Earth was no longer a graveyard. It was a sleeping giant, and the Zenvari had just woken it up. As the shuttle shot into the sky, Scarell whispered the thought that chilled them all to their bones. What if humanity never died? What if they were simply waiting for something to invade? The answer remained unspoken. But deep below the surface of the planet, within the hidden bunkers, within the ancient servers, within the reawakening war machines, humanity remembered. And next time, the invaders would not escape so easily.
The end.
That's section 4, wrapping up the story. Let me know if you'd like any revisions or if you want an epilogue.
Rocket.